Oh, is it recording? There we go. Hey, we're recording. So today we're going to be focusing on audience building and targeting. Audience building and targeting is where really the magic sauce is, right? The Colonel's secret recipe is. It allows us to make sure that the money that's being spent is being spent on only the people that are most likely going to do business with you. And that means that the messaging is that much more powerful. The opportunity for conversions is much more powerful. And ultimately, the branding in your local community is going to be far more effective. You as small business owners don't have the budget to waste a penny. Every penny must count. And what Russell's going to go through, and it's going to be a little bit heavy lifting, and Russell's a very articulate young man that uses a lot of words to explain things. If you get confused or you're not sure how something works, please jump in either by unmuting yourself and asking a question, or send a chat request through, and Ella will jump in and assist with Russell if I'm, definitely when I'm not here, but I'll probably leave it to you, Ella, to jump in. But today is the magic source time. This is the time where oftentimes people say, "Wow, that was gold." So take notes, digest what's going on. It can be pretty heavy duty. If it's something you don't really want to do, it's something that you should at least very much understand, because this is where the rubber meets the road with Facebook marketing. Okay. So Russell, without further ado, I'll let you take over the reins.
Thank you, Andy. So hello, everybody. Good morning. I am coming live from New Zealand. It's winter over here and it's dark outside. So hopefully you guys got some nicer weather going on. I'm going to share my screen and just, we're going to have a look at the Facebook Ads Manager. I'm going to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of what the Ads Manager is for those who maybe haven't used Facebook ads. Has anybody in this group actually run ads through the Facebook Ads Manager? Possibly not. All right, that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to show you something that you've probably never ever seen before, and that's fine, because what there's going to be some assumptions that you have an ads account, so on and so forth. We do have in our academy and on our Facebook group, we do have a lot of courses around and instructional videos around, what is Facebook Ads Manager? How do you get into Facebook Ads Manager? How do you create an account? It's all free to create an account. You just pay for the actual advertising. And then there's all sorts of courses around creating ads and all of that sort of good stuff. But I will give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour. We'll put most of the focus into, as Andy said, like the audience side of things, because at the end of the day...
This is so cool. So he's in New Zealand, the guy who's doing it. Yep, and it's winter there and it's dark. So it's cool. I'm kind of looking out his side window. I am paying attention. But
yeah, that's right. There we go. Where's my side window? There you go. There's my side window.
I love it.
You're welcome. All good. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And okay.
And while Russell's doing this, I'm just going to let you know, Russell's a founder and my business partner. So he's kind of like the hidden secret behind what we do, just in case you're wondering. This crazy Kiwi. I know I have a bit of an accent, but he has a real accent because he's fresh off the boat.
There we go. So Andy likes to call me the Wizard of Ops. I have not yet decided whether or not I'll wear a wizard hat. He wants me to wear a wizard hat and stuff and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just happy to be the crazy guy behind the scenes. So can everybody see, Ella, can you see my business manager page?
Yes, I can.
All right, we're on the right page. That's always a good start. So you're all familiar with going to facebook.com. That's where you run your page, etc. This is business.facebook.com. And little trick, if you get to business.facebook.com and you don't have to log in, you already have a business.facebook.com account. You probably just never realized that you do. And that is not uncommon. If you don't have one, what you're going to have to do is go ahead and click the create an account button, and you can and use your personal Facebook account to set this all up. it doesn't, it only uses your personal account just to authenticate you, so that because you log into this using your Facebook. But when you post ads, it's not posting as, you know, John Smith or whatever, it's posting as your business. So it's not showing you all your private information. So business.facebook.com is where you want to go. As I said, there's a whole section in the Academy which we have available for you guys, and also in the Facebook group. If you get stuck with any questions, just reach out and ask. But they make it as easy as possible to take your money. So it's not a hard thing to do to sign up. But if you do have any questions, definitely reach out. So once you have an account, I'm just going to close this down. You'll be able to access this thing here, which is called the Facebook Ads Manager. Now, within the Facebook Business Manager, there are a ton of things that you can do. I'm just going to expand this menu out a little bit, so there are a ton of things you can do. And to be honest, there's pretty much one main tab that you would live in, which is this Ads Manager. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different things. I say this not to overwhelm you, but just to say, hey, even though there's a ton of different things, you're pretty much just going to live in this Ads Manager. You can pretty much run everything in there. The only other one will be, you know, maybe your business settings when you're maybe adding a credit card, because Facebook does need a way to take money off you. And I flippantly talk about Facebook taking money off you, but in all seriousness, Facebook is one of the most cost-effective ways that you can get your gym in front of mums with kids who might be interested in doing gymnastics or tumbling or cheer or ninja or anything like that. It is by far the most cost-effective way to advertise your gym. So I'm a little bit flippant, but I'm deadly serious as to why. And this is why we spend on a good month upwards of $70,000 in a month just advertising gymnastics, cheer, tumbling clubs all around the USA. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't a good idea. We'd choose a different platform for you. So when you're in this Ads Manager, and please, because we've got a small group, feel free, if you've got a question, unmute yourself and say, Russ, what do you mean by such and such? I'm going to just go like a freight train and just talk through everything. But if you want to stop me, then stop me. Or if you'd rather just note the question down and just put it in the chat.
Trying to get into
You're trying to
Zoom talk. No, that's right.
All right, Ella, do you want to just make sure everybody's muted for now? And just so you can just unmute yourself, and just a little tip, you can probably just press the space bar if you want to temporarily unmute yourself. It's kind of like a walkie-talkie.
Each day a headline.
So when you log into your Ads Manager for the first time, you will see something that looks very similar to this. Spent no money, run no ads, have no activity, and that's perfectly normal. And this is what we call the account overview. And if you're like really like numbers and things, this is a great area that you can come into. And then once you start running some things, you will then I still don't have any data in here. Once you start running some things, then you'll start getting some numbers in here, and you'll be able to see, like who you're targeting, and just make sure that, everything is running well. You're, typing in the right area, that you're reaching the right people, and, if you're, what sort of results you've been getting. The second tab, there's some COVID-19 resources. So if you want any information about, COVID-19 and how Facebook's working to address that, you can jump into there. But the meat and potatoes starts with these last three tabs, which is your campaigns, your ad sets, and your ads. And I've got a handy dandy little graphic here, which I'm going to just enlarge a little bit, so that I can actually talk about, like, what is a campaign, what's an ad set, and what's an ad. If we start from the bottom, an ad is pretty self-explanatory, right? Because we chuck them into newspapers and magazines and all over the place as often as possible. And that's, you creating something that advertises your gym to parents. Within Facebook, right? So what they do is they have a structure, because over a period of time, you're going to create, you could potentially create quite a number of ads and they could be targeting either different types of parents. All right, so you might be targeting parents of, with kids of different age ranges. You might be targeting parents in different areas. You might be promoting your ninja program. You might be promoting your rec gymnastics program, your preschool, your tumbling, and you might decide to split those out. You might be promoting summer camps, right? So there's a lot of different things that you might be promoting. And it wouldn't make sense to have that all just in one big mass list with no control and no organization. And what this campaign structure within the Facebook Business Manager gives us the ability to do is to create some structure and some organization so that we can manage our ads very well. So campaigns being the first tab. And if you think about a campaign, think about summer camps, right? Summer camps roll around, and now you're going to do a campaign, an advertising campaign to promote your summer camps, right? You might have, hey, you're going to have an ongoing, what we call an evergreen, so an ongoing campaign to advertise your rec gymnastics or your general programs, or you're going to have an ongoing campaign to raise brand awareness in the community about your product. So a campaign is a container that allows you to promote a certain area of your business in a certain way. Within a campaign, you have what we call ad sets, and the ad set. So we have a campaign, and let's say the campaign is to drive people to our website to get them interested in our programs. So an ad set is an area where we have the controls. This is where we're going to be really talking about today, where we have the controls to define who are we going to target, where are these people that we're going to target, and where on Facebook, Instagram, or their Facebook ad platform are we going to target them, i.e., Facebook, newsfeed. Over on that old right-hand side, we might see some ads on Instagram stories, all these, there's lots of different places. And I'm going to make that super easy because there's one option you should choose. And so all of the controls around how this campaign is going to get delivered are set in this ad set. And the reason you might have multiple ad sets for, you might want to test something, right? So you might have one ad set that's going to a particular audience. You might make some changes and have another ad set going to another one. You might have one ad set going for to a particular placement, and one going to another. So you might just use it for controlling where the ads go to different people. And then within the ad set, that's when you have the fun piece, right? Just putting your ad together like looks like a Facebook post, is a Facebook post for all intents and purposes, where you actually then put that out in front of the mums and get them, seeing your ad and getting really excited and calling you up or sending you a message or going to your website, filling out an email, whatever, but contacting you and getting their kid enrolled in your gym. And at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? And so you have one campaign. One campaign can have multiple ad sets, and each ad set can have multiple ads. One caveat I will put on this is a good rule of thumb is for each campaign, don't have any more than 2 ad sets. It just gets a little bit messy. And for each ad set, really don't have more than maybe 2. I recommend 2, maximum 3. Don't try and put 5 or 6 or 7 different ads in one ad set, because it just doesn't work. Facebook doesn't work that way. If you've got 6 or 7 ads, you'd be better off to put 2 into one ad set, 3 into the other ad set, and 2 into the other ad set. So that's a structure side of things. So that's how Facebook works. When you use Facebook Ads Manager, everything revolves around this. Campaign, decide what you want to do. Ad set, decide who it's going to go to. Ad, decide what it is that you're going to send to that person. So any questions on that side of things, or is that pretty relatively straightforward? All right, cool. I'm going to take that as a no, which means my explanations must be either fantastic or everybody's just like, what? Okay, so let's talk about campaigns. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about campaigns, and then I'm going to talk about ads. and then we'll spend the bulk of the time on this ad set, which is really, as Andy said, looking at how we laser target in and create that good audience. Please excuse my dog barking away. She probably wants to be let out somewhere. She's getting old and belligerent. When you first start creating a campaign so that you can then create your ad set and put your ad in it, you've got a green create button over here, and well, this is new. And Facebook, love Facebook. Facebook is amazing, and they are constantly running multiple different versions of Facebook all of the time. And sometimes you'll do something and it's brand new. So I've never seen this before. So hopefully this is not going to set me. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, this is cool. We're all going to learn something new today because I have an interface that wasn't here yesterday. That's awesome. So what we're going to do is you've got two options. You can create a new campaign, or you can use an existing campaign. So if you've got an existing campaign, you might want to make a copy of it. For this purpose, we're going to use create a new campaign. And the great thing about Facebook is even though you might you log into it one day and it looks this way, and then log into it the next day and it looks that way, all the stuff's pretty much the same. You're still going to create a campaign. So you're going to create an ad set. You're still going to create an ad. You might just have to look in some slightly different places. And hopefully they achieve what they're trying to achieve whenever they make changes, which is making things easier. When you set a campaign up, right, what we're talking about is we're talking about a campaign objective. And this is a really key word. And Facebook does not use words without some thought behind them. And it wants to put things into some real terms and don't think digitally. Don't try and think PPC, digital advertising. Think real world. Okay, what's the objective of my advertising campaign? Okay, well, my objective is to, brand awareness. I want to increase the brand. My objective is traffic to, what does traffic mean? And everything that you hover over has these little information icons, which when you hover over the information icon, you get a little snippet of text that gives you some context around what this is. And tip number one, if you're a newbie, and even if you're experienced, and I've been an ads manager for a very, very long time, these little information icons, use them. Like, they are absolutely everywhere. And everywhere you see these little information icons, they will give you some context around, well, what the heck does that mean? And if you like to go down to a rabbit hole or just discover what, get some more context and really learn more about it, more often than not, if it's applicable, they'll have a learn more option, which when you click will simply open up a nice sidebar here and give you some more information around, so we're looking at traffic. So what is traffic? Traffic is when we want to send people to a destination like a website. Okay, that's cool. App, well, I don't really use an app. Facebook event or messenger conversation. When I click learn more, I can then really dive down into this and learn a little bit more about what that objective is. Close that and we'll go back to here. So what we're looking at is we have, and before you start running an ad, right, you have to give some thought around what is it that you're trying to achieve. And that thing that you're trying to achieve will then you need to pick a campaign objective that matches that. So before you even open up Ads Manager, just grab a piece of paper, sit down with your team, whatever, and say, okay, right, we want to run an ad. What are we trying to achieve? What we're trying to achieve is we really want to get our brand in front of people and maybe have some people call us. We just want to raise our awareness in the community. Okay, so for that, let's have a look at a brand awareness campaign. We put the mouse over the information icon. We want to show our ads to people who are most likely to remember them, right? That's the objective of brand awareness. You might say, we've got a really great website. When people visit it, they've got a way to sign up online or to contact us. So what we want to do with our advertising campaign is we want to send more people to our website so that, parents in our community get to know us and they can see what we do. And maybe we're going to send them to our classes page to give people an idea of what our classes are. So in that case, you'd look down and say, you'd look for the objective that would most likely match that. And say, okay, well, traffic sounds like that. send people to a destination like a website. Or maybe we want to, get more people in our, maybe we use Facebook Messenger quite a bit, and people go onto our Facebook business page, and quite often they message us. So in that case, maybe we want to use Facebook Messenger, and if we click over the information icon again, show people ads that allow them to engage with you on Messenger, WhatsApp, or Instagram Direct, which is relatively new, allows people to engage with you directly on the Instagram platform. So each of these objectives really match what it is that you're trying to do, and it's super important to really have an idea of what it is that you're trying to achieve before you run an ad. Otherwise, it's like driving your car and just driving and then thinking about where you want to go to, after having driven unsuccessfully for 5 hours, not gotten to where you want to go to because you hadn't actually planned what your destination is. The campaign objectives are split into 3 areas. So you've got awareness, so it's brand awareness, what they call consideration. So this is just, sending people to your website or having conversations with them in Messenger, maybe getting them to fill in a form, maybe getting them to watch a promotional video. And then the final one is conversions, which, to be honest, you're probably not going to use conversions, and I'm not going to cover them in this, but to give you an understanding of what conversions are, is if you have some mechanisms on, say, for example, a landing quite an more advanced area, then you would use conversions. And for that, plus everything else, you will need, what we call a Facebook pixel, which, if anybody knows about, websites and Google Analytics, like just tracking your visitors, a Facebook pixel is a piece of code you would put on your site to track Facebook visitors. That's a whole nother lesson. So all we're going to look at is Facebook and consideration. That would be my recommendation, is to look at those 2. And within those, there's basically 4 ones that I would recommend you look at and use and think about using when you've decided what you want to do, what you want to get out of advertising your gym in Facebook. So if you want to just reach people and you just want to get that brand out into the community, reach as many mums as possible, reach as many parents as possible, then I would recommend using this brand awareness. One thing with the brand awareness that is very, very cool is that it is the only campaign, we call objective, that allows you to have a button on your ad that says call now and program a phone number into it, so that when people see that ad on their phone and they go, oh, I'm interested in that, they can tap a button and their phone will dial your gym number. So that can be really handy. And that's the only place that you'll ever see that call now option, is in the brand awareness. The other campaign objectives that are really worthwhile having a look at, and this is when you want to get a little bit more targeted around, just I want to find people that to send them to my website, find people that are going to message me. And you'll notice I use the word find people that are likely to, and this is a big part of building your audience and laser targeting. This is my second biggest tip. You can have the best audience in the world in terms of, you might really well define it. I'm going to show you how to create that, about how to reach mums. But what Facebook's going to do is, within that audience, so let's say our audience is this big, and that's, I don't know, let's say it's 20,000 parents. If you send them a brand awareness campaign, Facebook is going to reach as many people in that audience as possible. It's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing, right? It's good because it reaches everybody. It's good because it's pretty cheap to reach everybody, but it's bad sometimes because it's, you're reaching people, and the goal is not to get people ringing you. It's just to reach people. It's just to let people know. It's almost like a new way of sticking flyers in on car windows, or doing a leaflet drop through through some neighborhoods. The good thing about it is it's a lot less work. It's a lot less cost, and you're more likely to get some good results from doing it. But it's a saturation thing, right? It's brand awareness. With traffic in that group, Facebook is going to look at everybody in that group, and it's going to find people who are more than likely to visit a website because the objective is traffic. And this is really, really important. The objective that you have will tell Facebook, hey, in this 20,000 people, don't show my ad to people who typically don't click on ads and go to websites. Find people that are my target audience, but are most likely to click on an ad and go to my website. If I'm running a messenger ad, find people that are most likely going to use Messenger. So it won't target, and it typically won't show your ad to a mum who never uses Messenger. She won't see it. Same way with lead generation. If you're creating a form, again, it will focus on people who are most likely going to fill in a form. And this becomes super important because, as you know, right, in your community, you might have, say, 10,000 mums, but not everyone has a kid that's interested in gymnastics. Not everybody is, likes, visits websites. Not everybody uses Facebook Messenger. Not everybody likes to get on the phone and call you. So by using these different objectives, you get to reach different people in these audiences, and really, that's where the laser targeting really comes into effect. The other reason why this is so important is that typically we're looking at, fairly low budgets. So you might be spending $15, $20, $25, maybe $30 a day. I don't see many gyms spending much more than $30 a day. We've got a couple that spend, upwards of sort of $50, $60 a day, but they're, potentially larger gyms. But when you've got a smaller budget, so if you're spending, let's say $20 a day, and you've got an audience of, say, 20,000 people, and you want to, send people to your website, then you want to get as much, you want to make that money be spent as efficiently as possible. So within that audience of 10,000 people, you really want every dollar you spend being sent to people who are actually not just a mum with a kid who might be interested in doing gymnastics, tumbling, chair, or ninja, but are also likely to go to a website, or are also likely to message you on Facebook. And that is a really, really key part. So I think what you can get from here, right, is choosing that campaign objective is really, really important. And what you want to do is think about brand awareness, traffic, lead generation, or messages. Lead generation is just basically getting people to fill in a form on their phone or on Facebook and send you their information. I would caution you on the lead generation one, unless you've done the course in the academy or you've reached out to one of us to sort of help you, because there are some caveats, some additional steps that need to happen to get that information into your inbox. So brand awareness, traffic, engagement is another one that we would use. And the great thing about engagement, and you think about engagement, and I'll just use this handy dandy little information icon, get more page likes. Okay, it's a vanity metric, but it's still good, right? If we get people to like our Facebook page, it's a good way to, when we then put out a post and we put some money behind that post and reach everybody that's, likes our Facebook page, then getting more likes could be a good idea. Event responses. So we might run events like Facebook events. So we might run a Facebook event for a parents' night out or a particular summer camp or a day camp. So we can actually promote the Facebook event that we've created with an engagement campaign. And we can also look for just getting, comments and shares. So it's a really good kind of like another sort of, even though it's under this consideration column, it's another really great sort of brand awareness type of thing. But if you've got an event that you're trying to promote, this is the one that you want to use, is this engagement one. Video views is also a great one if you've got a great promotional video. Video views sometimes can lead to a lot of people going to your website. If you're showing a video and saying, hey, here's a video about our gym, sign up for, to try us out, sign up for a free trial, sign up learn more about our classes, find out more about our classes, whatever that action is. Sometimes people watch videos and you get a lot of people acting on what it is that you're asking them to do. Sometimes you'll show a video and you won't get a lot of people clicking on it. It's one of those things that you just need to test, and testing is something that you will do. You have to test things in Facebook, just like any advertising. And so the fourth one in this one that I would use is that messages, and really think about messages. Messages is a great option. Getting people to just message you on Facebook means that a busy mum sees an ad and she's got a million things going on, or as a dad, we only have 100 things going on. We're nowhere near as busy, but it means that straight away we can go, message, find out a little bit more information while we're on the run, while we're waiting for the kids at the soccer, because we want to get them out of soccer into into gymnastics because it's a better sport or something like that. So Messenger is a great way for them to interact with you. And then of course, you've got Messenger on your phone and you can have that little conversation, maybe give them a call, get them into the gym. So that's the campaign objectives: brand awareness, traffic, engagement, possibly video views, and messages. And when I say possibly video views, when you use any of these campaigns, you can put a video in, right? You can either have an ad with a video, an ad with an image. So you don't have to necessarily use video views. So brand awareness, traffic, engagement, messages, and if you wanted to try out video views, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to use this brand awareness one to create a campaign. So you click on continue, and then what happens is you get to fill out some information about your campaign. So the first thing you do is you give it a name. This is super important because the name, when if you like speed forward to a year, when you've got maybe 30 campaigns and 50 ad sets and you've run a whole bunch of different ads, having a good naming convention is really, really important because it helps you identify what it is. So, and if you think about naming, it's a campaign. So what are you doing? Summer camp 2020 traffic campaign, something like that. Just something that when you look at it, you go, okay, I know what that was. I'm just going to close this. And I'm going to go into one that's I prepared earlier. And so we're going to, so you can see, for example, here at CD, call now, reach, and we've got some naming conventions, this one, but basically I can see straight away that this is a call now campaign and reach is the objective that I was using. You set the budget in here. I'm not going to go into budgets too much, apart from the fact that, biggest question I often get is how much should I spend per day? The answer is twofold. A, whatever you can afford, and B, no less than 5, and probably no more than about, $40 or $50. So somewhere around there. We find most of our clients sit really well, really comfortably, and get some really, really great results at around about that sort of $25 a day mark. It seems to be very doable in terms of cost. And it also seems to be very good in terms of giving Facebook enough budget to actually, do its magic and get some results. And we've seen gyms grow, very, very well year on year with budgets of around about that sort of $25 to $30 mark. So $25 is a good amount. If you're doing $5, you're not going to get a lot of results. That's the hard fact. You're not going to get a lot of results. You might get 3 or 4 clicks to your website a day. You may get a couple of phone calls a week. You're not going to, but it's okay, right? It's a good way to maybe test the waters and just feel comfortable without burning through a lot of money. But if you want Facebook ads to work for you, I would say don't spend any less than probably $15 a day. And unless you've got a massive gym and a very big catchment of, around your gym of parents, you probably don't really want to be spending more than about $25 or $30 a day. We talked about objectives. We've set that up. The second thing in the ad creation is this ad set. And as I said right at the beginning, right, where is it? Facebook ad campaign. So in the ad set, this is where we set the budget. This is where we set the controls of who this ad that we're going to create is going to be shown to, and this is the meat and potatoes of what, of how we send a successful ad out to the right people. Again, just thinking about that campaign objective as well. If we're doing, in this case, we're doing a brand awareness. I've called it reach because I'm reaching as many people. But if we were doing a traffic one, we understand that we're putting an ad in and we're getting people to the website. We're getting brand awareness. We're getting messages, or we're getting engagement or event responses. So in this ad set, so we created our ad, and the next step in this campaign creation is to set up this ad set. So again, having a good naming convention is a good idea. So again, I've said call now, and I've kind of almost just replicated what we've said up here in the campaign name. Call now, because that's my overall objective. I want to reach people, and I want them to call my gym. So call now, I've said reach, which is my objective. And you notice I put interests up here, and that's how I'm creating my audience. So in terms of audiences with Facebook, there are several ways in which you can reach people. So the most common way, and you're going to use this probably 95% of the time to reach new mums, is by using interests. And what we mean by that is, if you think about, and for those of you who maybe have done some, like small business marketing courses or anything like that, one thing that a lot of people talk about is, your customer avatar, or your customer persona, identifying, what is a typical mum, or what is a typical parent that might have a kid. And if you have a look at the parents that come into your gym every day, and you have a look at Susie, and maybe she's got young kids, and her kids are preschool age, so she's got a kid that's involved in scouts. Maybe she buys certain products. Maybe she shops at certain kids' clothing stores. Maybe she gets involved in certain activities for kids. Maybe she follows certain kids group, like parenting groups. You start to see some things about these people that are really particular to them, and this is the golden part, is finding things about these mums that are particular to them and not to anybody else. Because you might also look at this mum called Susie and say, she loves going out to cafes. She loves a nice coffee and a croissant. She loves going to the gym because she likes croissants. So she goes to the gym a lot, and maybe she loves art. But so do single mums, right? Single ladies and people that aren't parents, and older people and younger people. And so that those things are not particular to a mum, right? We want to identify things that are specific and particular to a mum that wouldn't be specific and particular to somebody that's not a mum. And this is where the power of Facebook comes in, because it allows us to say, hey, Facebook, we want to find people that like these, have an interest in these areas. Hence why they use the word interests and interest audiences, and words like insights, because we want to get an insight into what makes a mum tick, right? An insight into, what is it that's different about a mum to somebody that's not a mum? What is it that's different to a woman than it is to a man? So on and so forth. And so if we can start to understand and identify some of those things, then we are able to give Facebook a very, very clear instruction around Facebook. We want to reach as many people in our community with this ad that we've got that is amazing and is going to encourage people to join our gym. Those people we want to reach are mums and parents who've got kids, maybe between the ages of, say, 5 and 17, or 6 and 13, or whatever that age range is. And we can give these signals to Facebook, and then Facebook goes, all right, I got this. And Facebook has a very, very powerful, what we call an algorithm, which is a set of programming rules, if you like, to then go out and find as many people that are in your community, likely to visit your website, likely to message you on Facebook, likely to respond to an event that you're promoting. You get what I'm saying? You're starting to see that picture paint itself now. Excuse me. So how do we build this interest audience, right? This is and this is why I say, you just really need this one tab when you get into the Ads Manager. So many things, but you can do everything within here, including build this audience. So once we've given our ad set a name, we're going to go down. We're probably not going to change the start date unless for some reason there's a reason why you don't want this to start until next week. Maybe it's an event you're promoting or what. But if there's a reason to put it in the future, change the start date. If there's a reason you need it to stop at a particular time, set an end date. So you might be promoting Parents' Night Out and it's next Friday, so set the ad to stop Thursday or something. And this is where we get into the audience. So the first few parts of the ad set is a couple of seconds. Give it a name, change the date if you need to, and let's start working on the audience. So typically what you're going to do is you're going to create an audience. However, and I will show you how to save an audience. Once you've created an audience, you can then save that audience to reuse. So if you spend half an hour or an hour creating this amazing audience, and let's say it works brilliantly well, and then you go and create another campaign later, you don't have to recreate this. You can actually save it. So then when you go to create a new campaign, you can say, okay, I'm going to reuse this audience, and I don't have to kind of fill in everything again. It just is a great time saver. So what we're going to do in terms of audiences is we are going to use this detailed targeting. This has changed its layout a little bit. I had the old one yesterday. So let's start with the location. So my apologies. I'm kind of battling through a new layout I haven't seen before. But this is starting to look a little bit more familiar now. So let's backtrack for a second. Creating a new audience. We start with, where do these people live? We think about, how old are these people going to be? Then we want to look at, are we going to target a specific gender? And then what we'll do is, once we've identified where they are, how old they are, what gender they are, then we'll look at some really detailed targeting and work out those interests. So the first thing we're going to look at is, we want to put an address in. So if we can zoom in on my map. Why is this not zooming in? Oh, Facebook. Here we go. I'm going to try doing this again. Woody Hacker Way. I'm going to pretend that our gym is next to Facebook. Normally, you can just zoom in on this and it will keep everything centered, but I'm going to have to just do this a little bit manually. All right. Okay, so let's say my gym is just down the road from Facebook. It's at 40 Hacker Way in Menlo Park, California. And I might, knowing my area, I might say, okay, well, typically parents will drive 10 miles to my gym. Maybe if I'm in a rural area, maybe parents will drive 15 miles, maybe even 20 miles to my gym. If I'm in the middle of LA or San Diego or any other big city, maybe parents will only drive 4 miles to my gym. So, so what we can do here is, once we put our address in, we can set this mile radius to however many miles, up to 50, which is probably way too much for most gyms. So basically from 1 mile up to whatever you want. So of course, if you do 1 mile, obviously that radius, so it's the radius from your gym, will be a lot tighter. And that is the location that we're going to use. And we're saying to Facebook, everything that we do in terms of who the people are that we're going to target those people within this location. Now, Radius is great, and it's nice and easy. It's relatively flexible, and you can just set the radius to whatever you want, and you're good to go. However, you might want to get a little bit more granular. I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. You might be especially if you're in a larger city area where some of the zip codes, you want to maybe target specific zip codes rather than just a one whole radius. And so with the zip codes, what you can do is you can actually type in the zip code. So you could start with your gym location, which is always a good idea because that gives you a reference point. Maybe put 1 mile, or maybe you can put, you might put, say, let's put 3 miles in here. 3 miles in here. And then you might say, okay, but also we're going to target a neighboring zip code, which is, I think this one here. There we go. And you can see now, if I just zoom in a little bit, hopefully everybody can see this all right. You can see that it's picked up this location here, which we're saying, okay, typically people are in 3 miles, but we get a lot of people from Redwood. And you can keep building this up. 94303. 94303. There we go. And there's another one. We can say, hey, we also get a lot of people from East Palo Alto, and some of those are within that radius, but that suburb comes out a lot, and you can really kind of get quite granular on exactly where you want to target. Where do your parents live? And as gym owners, you've got all of that information. You know where your parents are typically coming from, unless maybe your gym is brand new. And iClass Pro, and I'm pretty sure Jack Rabbit do as well. If you export out your all your parents, you can actually see what zip codes, where you get most of your parents from your zip code. So using zip codes can be a really good idea. And as you can see, you can mix up zip codes and radiuses and really get very defined as to where you're going to target. Any questions on that radius targeting kind of things, or was that you good with that? All right, cool. Age, you can put your ages in here. To be honest, Facebook will, whether you put an age in here or not, Facebook will target, especially if you're putting the interests in, and Facebook already knows who visits your Facebook page and your Instagram page. And if you've got a pixel on your website, who visits your website. So you can put age in here, or you can just leave the age open and let Facebook decide. I would actually say start off, let Facebook decide. The more control, the more control you put on your audience, sometimes the higher the cost of reaching those people. So wherever possible, I like to leave these options and say, Facebook, you're smart, you figure it out, right? I'm trying to find parents. I've told you where, telling you who I want to target. So sort that out. If you find that you're getting a lot of people of the wrong age phoning you for the wrong reasons, whatever, then maybe you can come back and tighten that up. And again, you could leave it to all, and just target men and women with because remember, we're targeting some very specific interests to define the parents. If you do want to do specify an age range, think about the average age of your parents that are in your gym, and then subtract 5 years and add 5 years, just so you get a good catchment. So if the average age of parents in your gym is, I don't know, say 26 to 42, do 23 to 50, right? Because there will be some older women, there'll be some younger women, or older dads, younger dads, and we want to reach more people than and get everybody, than try and get too tight and miss a whole bunch of people. Even if you don't select gender, I can almost guarantee that when you have a look at your reports, you'll find that Facebook delivered your ad to 90% females. And yes, we do get males converting and enrolling their kids in gymnastics. It does happen. Not often, but it does happen. And then we get into the part that is the absolute magic sauce, which is the detailed targeting. So this is where we're going to look at the demographics and the interests and the behaviors of who it is that you're going to target. So, and then once you put your ad out, these are the defined controls that you're giving Facebook to say, this is who I want to target. So if I click on edit here and come in here, the first thing we want to do, and these are my handy dandy tips. The first thing we want to do is we want to use some demographics. So I'm going to type in, and I would suggest that when you do this too, you type this in as well and start here. We're going to type in parents, and you'll see that Facebook gives us this list, this demographic list of parents, new parents 0 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, so on and so on and so forth. So think about the programs that you're promoting and the age ranges that you want to get, and select the age ranges here. If you're promoting your gym in general, then you might have preschool classes right up to rec classes. So you might do 1 to 2 years right up to 17 years. So make that a conscious decision. If you're just doing preschool classes, then obviously that makes sense that you would just do maybe the 1 to 2 and 3 to 5. So I'm going to go ahead and click 1. Then we're going to click back in here. Okay. All right. So now, and you'll see at the top here, it's got parents with preschoolers 3 to 5 years, demographics, parents, and all parents. So rather than having to go in there and every time type in parents and wait for this list to populate and then pick that, what you can do is just click all parents, and it will come up with this handy dandy little checkbox. And you can go, okay, I want 6 to 8 year olds and 9 to 12 year olds, and let's say 1 to 2 year olds. So this is going to give us a starting framework. Now, the one thing that I will caution you on is that you could potentially you could run this and you could target people at this. This will not give you every parent in your area, because a lot of this information is also sourced from third-party databases that Facebook has within its network, and it's not 100% complete. But it is a good start. And one of the things that I really like about this is that it's a good, what we call a good signal to tell Facebook, hey, we're trying to find parents here, right? So the second thing you want to look at, now that we've got these demographics, we've really defined the age ranges, is we want to think about what are these parents interested in. So if I was looking at a parent, I would be looking at things like, what sort of products do parents buy? So let's think of products that maybe a parent of a young child might buy. So one of those could be they might buy products by Johnson & Johnson, Johnson's Baby, so on and so forth, right? So we could say, Johnson's Baby. Well, that's something that only a mum would probably be interested. Somebody that's not a mum probably isn't going to be interested. So that could be a good interest to look at for a young mum that's got kids, preschool kids. When you're looking at these, I'm just going to type that in again. When you're looking at these, it's important to note over on the right-hand side what they call a classification. So you might say that Johnson & Johnson it could be a good brand, but if we have a look on the right-hand side here, that classification is employers. So people who listed, and you'll see, as it pops out, people who listed their employer as Johnson & Johnson in their Facebook profile. So not really the right kind of Johnson & Johnson interest that we're looking for. Whereas over here, down here, we've got Johnson & Johnson, people who have expressed an interest in or like pages related to Johnson & Johnson. One thing that's super important to understand about these interests is it's not defined, it's not restricted to just people who like Johnson & Johnson's Facebook page. Okay. It's people who mention Johnson & Johnson, engage with posts by Johnson & Johnson, should have picked an easier word. People who visit Johnson & Johnson's website, maybe buy their products, and also, you guessed it, like the Johnson & Johnson Facebook page. So there's a bunch of different signals that Facebook can utilize to understand whether or not somebody expresses an interest or is interested in Johnson & Johnson, that go way beyond just liking their page, which makes sense, right? Because a mum might like, Johnson's Baby, but her kids are now 16 years old. And just because she likes that Facebook page doesn't necessarily, back 16 years ago, doesn't mean she likes it now. So she might not be relevant. So it does use some additional factors like, are they actively engaged? Do they go to their website? Do they talk about Johnson? Do they engage actively on the page or with posts? So there is a sense of, actively engaged, which is good because, we typically as people don't go into our Facebook likes, preferences and unlike things when they're no longer relevant. It just typically doesn't happen. So in terms of these additional interests, what we would do is we would go through and we would think about some interests that, a mum might have that, a woman that's not a mum or a man that's not a dad might not have. So, we could think about clothing brands. We could think about, just different kids brands. There we go, fabkids.com. We could think about, and I'm trying to think of one that might not pop up because not everything pops up. I know, let's make a fictitious one. Maybe there's a really good local store, and it's called Kids Brand Clothes. Just because it exists and just because it exists on Facebook doesn't necessarily mean it's going to show up in these interests, right? The brand has to have a certain size and there's some certain qualities that it needs to have in order for it to appear in Facebook's searches. So as you go through, you can start thinking about all of the things that might be related to a mum. Like you could think about sports, so American youth soccer. That could be something that a parent would be likely to be interested in. It seems very slow today, but there we go. So American Youth Soccer Organization, that could be something. You could use, parenting, right? So parenting, which would be very related to, we got a magazine, parenting magazine, parenting just in general, that's pretty wide. Parenting.com. So what we're looking at is we're just trying to really think about what sort of things would a parent or mum or dad be interested in that somebody that's not a parent, mum or dad, be interested in. And as I said before, just be, even though that mum or that dad, they look really fit, they might go to the gym a lot. We don't want to target Les Mills because then we're targeting every other person that goes to Les Mills as well. This is the next golden nugget tip is use the suggestions tool. And because what the suggestions tool does is it gives you some suggestions that Facebook comes up with based on some of the selections that you've pre-populated. Again, this is another good reason why we start with these all parents categories because, and I'll leave those Fab Kids and Johnsons there. Because once you've selected your demographics and you click on suggestions, then guess what? It's going to give you, and look at all these suggestions. They are all related to parents. So you could go, okay, well, cool. Middle school, parents with adult children, no. School, maybe that might be a little bit too broad. Kindergarten, yep, sure. Preschool, why not? Johnson's Baby, yes. Why? Don't know why there's two Johnson's Babies, but that's okay. The Children's Place, sure. Now, if you and as you go through, right, you'll start seeing these suggestions will keep changing. And what they keep changing to is they're constantly looking at what you've been selecting, and they will adapt to that. And it's really important. I'm just going to remove these. And it's really important, especially if you look at your age range and look at these suggestions and try and find suggestions that cross, different age ranges. So yeah, that suggestion here would be, let's say, Pampers would be great for a young mum. And now you can see that all of the suggestions are really sort of young mum focus. So I'm going to go, well, middle school, because that's, a mum that's maybe a little bit older. And now look, all my suggestions are changing again, right? But high school, primary education, private school. So let's go kindergarten. And these changes are constantly adjusting based on what you're putting up here. So if you just went for these younger ones, let's go Pampers, Huggies, Johnson's Baby Center, all of a sudden you're really seeing just a lot of really baby focused stuff, and now your audience is going to be a little bit skewed to just the younger mums. So it's really important when you're going through here just to think about those kind of interests that might relate to a mum with young teen kids, a mum with preteen kids, a mum with preschool kids, or parent. And just, and pick a few of those. And over on the right-hand side here, you'll start seeing what we call this potential reach. So this is how many people you could potentially reach within this location who are within this age range and are men and or women, and are interested in these particular demographics and interests and behaviors. And once you're comfortable with that, and then you go to the next stage and you'll start, creating an ad. So in terms of targeting that, and when I say create an ad, you could just use a really great post that you've done, and you can take that post and advertise that, like push that out to this audience. So before I go on to the next stage, we're in the last sort of probably 10 minutes now. Does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts on just, because this is the big part, right? It's easy enough to create an ad, hey, your kids will love our gymnastics club, sign up for a free trial class. It's easy enough to understand an objective. Hey, we want to reach as many mums as possible. We want to find people to hit our website. The absolute goal is making sure that we understand where these mums are, who these mums are, and ensuring that Facebook then knows that information as well, so that we get the best possible result and show our ads to the right people. Otherwise, it literally just probably is just not going to work. All right, cool. So go through this and build this out. And you might not get it right first time. You might find that it works. You might find that you don't get everybody, but definitely test it. One of the things I do know is that this is exactly how we build our audiences up for the thousands of ad sets that we create every year. We use this exact same model every single time without fail. There is no, and we've tested this. Honestly, we've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars advertising gyms. We know this audience works. And so if you follow this formula, start with the demographics, pick the age ranges, go through the interests, use the suggestions, because it'll give you some really good ideas. And even if it might give you an idea like Fisher and Price, and you suddenly go, oh, what about Toys R Us? I don't even think they exist anymore, but what about this, or what about that? And you can, and as you think about things, go, what about Girl Scouts? So we could type in, and suddenly you start getting excited and go, oh, well, what about Girl Scouts? Maybe that could be an option. Doesn't look like it is, which is kind of weird because I'm pretty sure it used to be. Oh, there it is. It's just really, really slow. So again, we go, okay, Girl Scouts of the USA. yeah, that's a great one. And there's also Girl Scouts, and there's a Girl Scouts employers. We probably don't want that one. But there's actually a lot of different ones for Girl Scouts, right? And typically, you're probably going to find that it's parents that are interested in things related to Girl Scouts than non-parents. So it is a bit of a discovery, and you can just, once you click one, you go, okay, well, that's a good option. So I could either then try and use the suggestions tool. You'll see that it actually gives me some suggestions of Girl Guiding, Girl Scouting, Girl Scouts of the USA, etc. Or I could simply just type in there Girl Scouts and find that list again, and just kind of deliberately go through that list. If it says no results found, by the looks of things are a bit slow today. Just give it a couple of seconds. If nothing pops up, then it means it just doesn't have anything in its database about that. Once you've finished, click on Save This Audience. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you the ability to give this audience name so you can reuse it later on. So I'm going to call this, parents. What are we going to call parents? So kids 2 to, I don't know, say 17 years interests. Really having some troubles typing today, and I'm going to save that. And what that allows us to do is, once this is saved, is when we create a new ad, a new campaign, and we come in and we go, you know what, that parent, that audience that we use with parents with kids 2 to 17 years interest audience, that worked really, really well. So, let's use that again. Or maybe we say, hey, that KAC interest audiences ages 3 to 5, that worked really well for our preschool program. So we can select that, and it automatically populates it with everything that we put in there. And you'll notice that because we were going for a younger audience, we use this, we actually then use the age ranges because we really wanted to, sort of dial in on the younger mums or the younger parents. And, you'll see that the interests that we used here, we use one demographic, which is the parents with preschoolers 3 to 5. And then you'll see it, all of these different interests are all very, very related to, to parents of younger kids, right? Some are Gerber, the Children's Place, Disney Baby, so on and so on and so forth. The last thing in the targeting is, so we've said, this is where they live, this is how old they are, this is what gender they are, this is what they're interested in, so this is our parent. We want our ads to show on Facebook, Instagram stories, Audience Network, or whatever. Just don't even bother. Just use this where it says recommended, automatic placements. I would not recommend, unless you've got a very specific reason, I would not recommend going into this manual and manually selecting all of these different things. Just use automatic placements. Facebook will put it to the right place typically, and unless you're running some really big budgets with specific ads to specific placements, just use automatic. We know it works. And that's all that I say. That's all there is to do on the ad set setup page. But that is your biggest part. Whatever ad you do will, as long as if you've got your targeting right, you're going to get your ad in front of the right people. If you've got the best ad in the world, but you're not reaching the right people, it's just going to fail. If you've got an ad that's, it's okay, as long as it's getting in front of the right people, then you've got a better chance of it actually working than having the perfect ad and not getting in front of the right people. So that really is it in terms of targeting. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want me to kind of like circle back around on or touch on or just explain a little bit further? I don't know, Ella, if there was any questions in the chat, I'm not sure.
There are no questions in the chat.
Fantastic. All right. All right. So, yeah, if anybody has any questions, do feel free to speak out. But if not, I'm happy to call out a wrap. If somebody wants to have a look at the actual ad building side of things, I'm happy to go for another 15 minutes if you want. Just to let you know, also, we do have the Academy. It's available just as a donation. You can pay nothing, you can pay something. We just we also have the Facebook, the gymnastics marketing group, which you're all probably a part of. And you know, as you get into this, if you have questions, you can definitely reach out there. If you want some step-by-steps, we cover Facebook advertising 101, everything from creating an account through to building the audiences, exactly what audiences we use, how to write the ads, how to write the copy, all in there. And you can kind of go through it in your own time. We try and break everything down into like about little 5-minute segment videos, 5 to 10 minute max videos. We've got courses on advertising 101, reopening, how to add a pixel to your website, setting up business manager, all the different campaign objectives, how to create a messenger ad, how to create a call now ad, how to create an event ad, how to create a traffic ad, how to do a lead form, and all of that really good stuff. So I do encourage you to jump in there. And I do encourage you, if you haven't used Facebook ads, really honestly give it a shot, because it really does have to be one of the most impactful ways to market your gym and you know, get more kids in and grow.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So as far as the location, okay, you know, you picked an area and you went, let's say, you know, a 10-mile radius. Is it picking up people that are on Facebook in that 10-mile radius?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a fantastic question, because there's actually a couple of options here. So so with Facebook, yes. So people have to have a Facebook account in order for you to reach them. And so what it does in terms of that location is, you see this drop down here. So we've got people who are living in or recently in this location. This is a good typical one to use. So people whose home or most recent location is within the selected area. But what you could also do is you could look at people just living in this location. So people whose home. Now, what we find with this is that you know, sometimes people don't update their address on Facebook. So you can find that maybe sometimes you don't target the right people. Either they're in this location, they still have their address in Chicago, or they're in Chicago and they still have their address as your location. We typically don't use people recently in this location for this particular industry, because that's really, you know, because if I live out there but I work next to your gym, then I'm going to potentially get your ads. And then people traveling in this location again is, you know, even more unlikely that you would ever use that. So we typically start with people living in or recently in this location, and it's really important to understand that Facebook's pretty good at, like, its algorithm is pretty good, right? And Facebook's goal is for Facebook to do the heavy lifting, to all of the, you know, they'll do the heavy lifting and trying to figure stuff out. It just wants you to give it an idea as to where it needs to figure that stuff out. So, yeah, so people leaving it at that default one is a good one to start with. And if you find that you're just not getting the results, you could maybe try refining it down to living in this location.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you haven't got any questions now, if questions come up, you know, and you're in the gymnastics marketing group, if you're not in the gymnastics marketing group, do please join the gymnastics marketing group. It's a free group. We, you know, all of our team jump in there and answer questions, and, you know, try and share some, you know, valuable stuff. And other gym owners and managers, you know, often share stuff. And if you have, you know, you're going through this because and you're creating ads, and you just have a question, or how do I fix this, or how do I optimize this, or can you give me some thoughts and some ideas on that, do post in there, because you will get answered by us, but also potentially by other gym owners and managers as well, who have potentially done this before. All right, I think that must be it. So I don't think there's any more questions. So Ella, I think you can probably stop recording and we can wrap it up, and I can let you good people